Welcome to Brain Wellness, the podcast. I'm your host, Mandy NP. Each episode will bring you a new topic or interview related to brain health and wellness as part of my mission to help you on the path to a healthier, happier brain. So, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. Today, my guest is Lady J. Lady J is the definition of resilience on repeat. She has mastered the ability to bounce back repeatedly from multiple traumas and hardships in life and business, which earned her the title the Bounce Back Queen. From different forms of abuse to homelessness to addiction to a near-fatal ruptured brain aneurysm, among other setbacks, she has let nothing stop her from winning in life and business. As an award-winning community leader, speaker, rising multimedia mogul, BounceBackologist, author, mentor, and serial entrepreneur, she has been equipped with a unique set of tools to encourage, empower, and support individuals and organizations from all walks of life and industries to conquer the impossible too. She has been featured on numerous media platforms that include, but are not limited to, WTHR Channel 13 News, RTV6, Google News, Fox, Formidable Woman Magazine, and more. She is the founder, president, and CEO of E.G.O Entertainment Network, Life Support Company LLC, BounceBackology LLC, and No Limits Ministry Incorporated. Her supporters stretch over 63 countries, and she has had the opportunity to feature and cover some of the nation's largest events and celebrities that include, but are not limited to, Sheryl Underwood, Marvin Sapp, Michael Colyar, the Oscars, Claudia Jordan, Brian White, Patty Spitler, and the Stellar Awards, and many more. Over the past 12 years, she has dedicated her life to supporting, serving, mentoring, and empowering others personally and professionally through not only sharing her jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring story, but also through her numerous gifts, programs, talents, and platforms. She will continue the work in ensuring that all that are assigned to her learn the fundamentals of how to bounce back and win. Thank you so much for being here with us, Lady J.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it seems like every time somebody reads their bio, I'm like, that sounds so unreal.
I know. Looking at this, you should be about, 70 years old from all the stuff that you've done.
Right.
So it's,
right.
I'm always impressed. And I love reading that just to kind of get a sense of who somebody is before we talk, because you've just done so many things.
Yes.
So, and here you are on my podcast talking about brain health. So I always start off with the first question. What's your story and why does brain health interest you?
Oh, well, I have always been a workaholic. And being a single mother after divorce pushed me in to have to, work more than one job, especially, when the father leaves. Sometimes they leave the kids too. So that's what happened in my case. And I was determined to, as you read, I went through a lot of trauma in my childhood, my teenage years, and things of that sort. I was not afforded the opportunity to receive help. So a lot of things I had to learn through trial and error. And I had a few addictions to help me cope and things of that sort. So that turned into unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy habits, and no sense of time management. And so I didn't really have a lot of health issues before having children. I wasn't really supposed to have children. I was told I wouldn't be able to have children. I was diagnosed with a very severe case of endometriosis at the age of 14.
Goodness.
And they were ready to give me hysterectomy at that time. That's how bad it was. So
wow.
All of my children are miracle babies. But once I started having children after I had my last child, some of the medical issues that I had, like hypertension, stayed. They didn't go away. So after my last child. And in that, I became an individual that overserved, overcompensated, because I didn't want other people to feel what I felt growing up. I wanted other people to feel loved, supported, and things of that sort. So I would go out of my way, to do whatever someone needed to help, whether it was feeding the homeless, whether it was mentoring, speaking at 10 different locations a week, traveling all over. Wow. And still being a mom and things of that sort. And I was really overexerting myself. I was not paying attention or listening to my body. And I could always tell my blood pressure was high because I would have a headache. The meds that they gave me, I stopped taking because every med they put me on, it made my hair fall out like I had cancer, and it made my head really sore. So I just stopped taking it, and I started using what is it? Apple cider vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
And it drops the blood pressure. But instead of using it on a daily basis, I would only use it when I felt like my blood pressure was high. So it was more like a rescue instead of actually like a preventative measure. Yeah. But that still doesn't work by itself if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So in March, was it March or April? I think May of 2019, I was preparing to open a second location, a huge building. I was so excited. Me and my team, we had worked day and night. Some days I would stay up 2 and 3 days, 48 to 72 hours straight, no sleep, putting this together, building it out. And we were already at full capacity before we even opened, like for businesses, small business owners, and events and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. And because I did that, I went to take a nap one day, well, the day before grand opening. And I was like, I'm going to lay down for an hour. I haven't been asleep in 2 days. I laid down, I got up. When I opened my eyes, my head felt like it was like getting ready to explode, and I could not stand. I went up to use the restroom and I couldn't stand. I just collapsed. So I was thinking that I was having a stroke. Mm-hmm. The ambulance was called. They did a scan, but they only did a CAT scan without contrast. Mm-hmm. So I was at stroke level. My blood pressure was in the 200s. I should have been having a stroke at that point. Mm-hmm. But they sent me home and for rest for the next 4 to 5 days. I couldn't do anything. So I missed the grand opening of my own building, of my own company. And fast forward, August 22nd, 2019, I was engineering a radio show for one of my hosts and producers on air. And the moment that this particular day, I had a headache all day long. And I had my 2 younger children with me, along with a young lady who I took under my wing. So she was like a little sister to me. Mm-hmm. She was like in her 20s. And I had a headache all day long. I wasn't feeling very well between May and August. I knew something was wrong. It was off. Like, I'm a very fast-paced person. I couldn't move. I couldn't move that fast. I was forgetful. I would forget meetings. I would be not just 2 minutes late somewhere, but I would be like 30 minutes, an hour late, because I had to take a nap every day. And so I was like, maybe just because I'm overworking myself. I'm not thinking that something is really, going on. But that particular day at about 7:05, as soon as I closed my laptop, it felt like somebody hit me in the head with a sledgehammer, and I collapsed into a chair. And I felt myself going to sleep. And something said, like, wake up, like you can't go to sleep. Get up, get up, get up. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't get up. So somehow or another, I stumbled. My truck was already pulled in front of the building. So you know how a strip mall is, you can just pull up right in front of them. My truck was already like that, and the back door was open because my kids had already started taking stuff out. Yeah. So I stumbled out the door somehow. I have no clue how I did that. And I finally collapsed into the back seat of my truck with half my body hanging out and half of it in the truck. And so I'm telling my kids, trying to tell them. So right next to door to my building was a Dollar General. Mm-hmm. And so I had my children, I asked them and the young lady to go next door and get me some apple cider vinegar and some juice so I could try to, so I'm laying on my left side and I try to take a sip, and that's all I can get out, because my right side then started to go like numb. And so now I'm like, this is very serious. And then I had this overwhelming sense that I was dying. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling her, call 911, something is wrong. And she did. And by the time I got to the hospital, I could not really speak. The light was like oh, I can't even, the light was excruciating to my eyes. So I had to like close my eyes, and I could feel myself, like my everything shutting down, to, if you will. And I could hear what was being said for a while. And like tears started running down my face, and I'm thinking to myself, like something is wrong. They ended up calling my significant other. He was on the road. He's a truck driver. Ended up calling him. They called my godmother, and I could hear them in the room. The doctor comes in. They're telling me to stay awake, keep her awake, keep her awake. They were putting something in my arm, I guess an IV or something. You know, 75% of people that have brain aneurysms, they die within the first 48 hours. Even after surgery, you're still in the woods for another 10 days. So most people do not make it. And after, if you've been bleeding out in the brain for that long, if you go to sleep, it's almost 100% chance that you're going to slip into a coma. So they were trying to keep me awake. And I kept hearing them say, keep her awake, keep talking to her. I don't even remember them taking me somewhere to get a test. But apparently they took me to get some testing, and the doctor comes in, and I hear him say, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Miss Merrill, but you just suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm. And I could hear the gasp in the room, and just like a pin could drop. And I could feel myself crying even more. And I was in so much pain, and even crying was excruciating. And the only thing I could think of was, at that moment when I heard those words, even though I couldn't say anything, I accepted that I was going to die. And so I just, in my thoughts, I was just like, Lord, please let somebody just bring my kids in here so they can say goodbye. And because it happened when my younger two were there, like I could hear them screaming and crying before the ambulance arrived, because I think they knew something wrong, especially my daughter. I think my youngest son, he was too really young to understand the severity of what was going on. But so that has to be probably one of the most horrific days. And I've had some horrific days in my life, but knowing that I was getting ready to leave here and my children not be able to see me, or me not be able to see them, it was, man, that's a day I will never forget. So and brain health, why does it interest me? Well, for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. So for me, the part of my brain that was damaged is the front left side. And so the area that controls your cognitive thinking, critical thinking, your emotions, and controls the physical, movement of your right side. And my eyes were damaged. So the neurons, whatever behind your eyes, that was damaged. My hearing, it definitely, you don't realize how powerful the brain is until you go through something like that.
Until you have the injury.
Exactly. You know that the brain controls everything in the body, but you don't really realize how much you take for granted being able to sit and look at somebody on a screen, and not have to wear special glasses, and it causes headache or pressure in your head. So think for it. And so for me, making sure that I was able to at least speak again, think, and term memory also was damaged. Okay, so I did a lot of brain exercises that my speech kind of therapist. So doing the like puzzles, or trying to make words out of a certain amount of letters and things of that sort, it was difficult. But just sitting, talking to somebody, if I'm in an in-depth conversation or something that requires critical thinking, I can't do that for a long period of time without feeling extremely drained and getting a severe headache. So every day that I wake up is a blessing. And I'm full of I'm doing, how much of it I'm doing, time management, even though I do a lot, I definitely have to be very careful about that. So I even at liberty to, somebody can be depressed and cry all day. I can't do that. Crying literally sends my blood pressure immediately through the roof. So I don't have that liberty. And it's so frustrating because I'm human and I have emotions like everybody else. But that's something that I have to live with. And I have had to grieve my old self. So I have a stutter if I talk too long, or if I am trying to say something and I can't find the word. That's frustrating for me. If you knew me beforehand, I'm just like fire, and so I notice it. Other people may not, but I notice it.
Yeah. So, and that's frustrating because
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And so it is. And I felt so bad when, I was in rehab. I did 18 months of rehab, physical therapy, speech cognitive therapy, mental health therapy, and physical therapy, occupational therapy.
Yep.
So that takes a lot of commitment, lot of commitment, especially when you're making progress, but you want to be back to 100%.
Yeah.
But that's not reality. You want to be back to 100%, and it's not. So it is. And me being so young, and I was 36 years old when it happened. And I'm getting ready to be 39, and I've been hospitalized 3 times since then, every year. So my goal this year is not to be hospitalized.
That's a good goal.
And and so even when I had a moment where I imploded emotionally while driving. I had just dropped my son off at work in 2021, and I was other things were happening in my life, and I just became overwhelmed, and I just lost it in the car. But almost immediately my whole right side went numb while I'm driving. So I'm like, oh, please let me make it off the highway. And then I noticed it was a lot of things started happening to my body, and I ended up, you have a voice thing in your car. You can call, push a button. And so I did that, and it called the last person that I was on the phone with. And they live in a whole nother state. So they ended up calling the police and trying to tell them where I was. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to die here by myself. I'm going to die in this car by myself. And I was so scared. And I ended up staying in the hospital. I was paralyzed on my entire right side for 4 days. And they called it migraine myoplasma or something like that. And it's usually only lasts for 24 hours. They thought I had a stroke, of course, and they were going to give me a med that would have caused bleeding in the brain. So I'm glad that they didn't have caught that to stop it, because they're going to stop the stroke, but it wasn't a stroke.
Yes.
So so that made me frustrated. That's when I realized I have to have control. And they were telling me you have to try your best to keep control of your emotions.
Yeah.
And that is so frustrating because I want to be angry,
Yep.
sometimes, but you just can't. So, but I'm learning, still learning some of my limits, some of the things that I can and cannot do, and learning how to be okay with that. But when you have children and you're used to having fun doing A, B, C, D, and my children have been troopers because all they care about is that mama is here. So they don't care. They adjust their, adjust what they want to do when we're doing something together so that mommy can do it too.
Sure.
And they're all teenagers now. So, but that is probably the most important thing I can say is you have to take care of your physical well-being. And yes, the brain is part of the physical, but it's also the thing that you use to think with, that you control your emotions, how you respond, and all of those things. So so that is why brain health is important to me, because I want to be here for a very long time. So I had to accept that I'm who I was is no more. And so now I have to learn how to embrace the new me, the disabilities and all. So
is the new me still working as hard as the old me did?
I would say yes and no, because the working hard looks different
Sure.
than before. So I had to find alternative ways on how to be effective in what it is that I did, and on how to take some things off my plate. Like I can't do that, or have limits, because I didn't have those before.
Yeah.
So now I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yep. When I'm dealing with patients that have been in similar situations as you, we often have conversations once we kind of get over that really initial rough patch about how it was a gift to teach you how to slow down because you weren't listening to your body prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you know, for someone like me, I'm like, okay, God, I've already been through so much hell in my life. Like, can you just take this out of my head? I promise I'll do better. But it's like, no, I need the constant reminder that, you know, they did the surgery, the brain surgery, and, you know, caught it off. I'm like, no, I want it removed. But, you know, and I'm assuming that it wasn't possible, you know, and even then, like I said, I can hear them telling them that we can't guarantee that she's gonna live, but we can do our best and wait and see. So I'm just like, every day, like I said, every day I try not to think about it. Before, I thought about it every single day, like terrified that I'm not gonna wake up. Because to be honest, before that happened, I would sleep an hour before. Remember I said I always take naps? I would sleep an hour before. If I had slept just one more hour, if I did not have to go into the studio, I would have died in my sleep.
That's a scary but
and my
realistic
children would
thought.
have walked in and found me in the bed. Yes.
Yeah.
That would have been my reality.
Yeah. Being the provider, taking care of patients in the hospital, we've had several patients in that situation where they did just that. They didn't wake up. They went to take a nap, and we had some difficult conversations in the hospital with family after that, and it had very different endings than you did. So you definitely had someone looking out for you that day. And I think his name is written all over your wall behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a reason that you are still here and you are living out your purpose, but definitely learn some boundaries so that you can continue living that purpose and sharing all of your talents, because you do have multiples. That's very obvious. So just using those talents, but within some sort of reason at this point, so that you can take care of yourself. You've been given another opportunity to continue what you're doing, but more cautiously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And you can be a living example for your children then too, on how important it is to take care of yourself, regardless of how successful you are, or how successful you're trying to be. You always need to take care of yourself in the middle of all that.
Right. Absolutely. I think the most important lesson that I have learned is to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Because you can't be here for other people if you're not okay.
Yep.
But like I said, when you are someone who has lived a life where you were always made to feel like you were a burden, where you were not cared for, you're not abandoned, you would think that I would be a very bitter, angry person. But that's not the way that God created me. It's not the way He wired me. So I just want to love on people. I love to help and serve people. So, but I have to have limits, you know, on on how much I can do, and who I can do it for, and you know, so and those are the things I literally had to learn that and you know, most people think that it's a cliche, but no, if that's all you know and that's how you lived, I didn't have those tools. I don't know how to give only parts of me or just a little bit of me. I'm jumping, I'm all in, I'm 100% or nothing at all for everybody, you know. But that doesn't work. And I can't save everybody, because that's another thing. Like I can't save everybody. So and I think as a parent, for me, I felt extremely guilty because I put myself in a situation where my children were going to be motherless because of my choices. And the aneurysm could have been avoided if I had made better choices in the way that I was taking care of myself. And I never put other people before them, I will say that. But and they and they love to serve with me. So when I'm feeding the homeless, they want to go too. If I'm, in class with some youth, at-risk youth, if they were able to go into that facility, they were there with me, so I included them in everything as well. And I love that they have a heart to help others too. But I am teaching them through what I'm doing now. Like, don't do what I did, what I'm saying, before. Because for me, my goal has never been to be this big superstar or successful person or on all these carpets with celebrities, but that's just the way God set it up. My goal is always to help as many people as I can, to serve as many people as I can. And so, but in doing so, like I said, I neglected self. I put self on the back burner. So now I put self first, and Sunday is my day. So that's my day to do whatever I want to do to wind down. I never had a day like that ever.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated by people because having grown up with trauma and other just rough upbringings, you could have been a very bitter person, like you said. But I find that people are either kind of hardened by that experience, or they come out to be a giver and they give of themselves everything because, as you said, you don't want other people to have experienced what you did. And I don't see a whole lot of middle ground. I don't see people in the middle of that. It's just they're either hardened or you're completely a giver, and you don't stop and think about yourself often. And it's really easy to kind of get on that little guilt wagon, but don't get on it, because you did the things that you did for a reason, for a purpose. And I always hated this saying before, but everything does kind of happen for a reason.
It does.
Had you not gotten to that point, you wouldn't be taking the time for yourself now than you needed to. And you wouldn't be able to share that new gift with your kids like you're able to now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, there's a saying, I don't know if it's universal, but I know in the African American community growing up, they would say a hard head makes a soft behind. So, you wasn't listening. So, I gave you all these signs and you just kept on. So now, so now I have to hit you with this.
There you go.
So now this is your consequence. And sometimes the choices that we make have lifelong consequences. And I know that God still has me here for a reason. And if your listeners actually knew my story, they would understand, because I should be dead 10 times over, actually, to be honest. Goodness. So I agree that everything happens for a reason. And really, I tell everybody, the things that you encounter in life are not mostly for you. They're for other people, because other people are going to be sick. Other people are going to be hurt. Other people are going to be, unstable. They're going to have financial hardships. How are they going to know how to actually get through those things or how to navigate those things if they don't have a model? Somebody has to go through it. He has to allow somebody to go through it. And, a lot of people question and say, well, why are children born sick or get sick? That child, I've seen where parents will be at each other's throats, and a death of a child will bring them together and allow them to have a change in their behavior, perception. So that was that child's assignment. And we forget that we don't get to, because we don't create ourselves. And that's just the reality. We don't get to pick and choose what our assignments are, what our purposes are. We don't get to choose how we're going to, go through it, or what we're going to go through in order to get to where it is that we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to become. And there are some of us who come into this world who have a little bit more free will than others. Everybody has free will, but some of us, we don't have free will. I always tell people, I'm like a Moses. Moses tried everything in his power to get out of having to go tell Pharaoh, and every excuse he came up with. And God got real angry. He was like, look, I said it's gonna be you. Nobody else. And so
true.
I have been one of those people. if people knew that I tried to commit suicide 4 times and I've lived every single time, you know, some of the things that I've been kidnapped, you know, held against my will and raped by a crazy guy. I should be dead several times over. There's a reason why he would not allow me to leave this earth. I have a work that has to be done, that I have to do, that I'm assigned to. And let me just say, before the aneurysm, so I mentioned that I was speaking and doing interactive sessions, mentoring sessions and things with at-risk youth and families. Yeah. I love that. I love to serve homeless, everything. But it got so overwhelming because I realized the power and the impact that I had on hundreds of kids. And then I had kids calling me Mama J and wanting to only talk to me, not the people on my team. And it got so overwhelming. And I started running from that. And then I just dived all the way into business because I love business. You know, business development is what I did in the corporate world, and I'm a whiz at it. It's a hobby. It's like a fun hobby for me. And I know that sounds really nerdy, but it is. I love everything business. And so that's what I did. And it was like I was running from what I was supposed to be doing. So I wasn't being obedient in that. And I was just, you know, just everywhere, just all the time. And then I stopped doing that didn't completely stop, but I stopped doing what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. And so, and that is where my passion is. Even though I am passionate about business, I'm more passionate about, you know, using my life story, my experience, my education in psychology and things of that sort, expertise to help other people, because God didn't bring me through all of those things for me to sit on it. And so that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that when people realize that you can't know, like you said, you won't understand how to be healed if you've never been sick. You know, you won't understand how to, you know, what it feels like to be financially free if you've never, you know, had a hardship. You know, so you don't, there are a lot of things that you can't know one thing without going through something else. So that's just life.
Yep. It makes us appreciate things more when we have had to struggle to get there. And it's funny how we get reminded of what we're supposed to be doing when we kind of get off track a little bit. Because we think we do have a little bit more control than we do. And that's when God comes along. He's like, nope, I don't think so. So yeah. Yep. So all those things you've been through, that is amazing that you are here. And you definitely have a purpose. What is it that keeps you going from day to day right now? What are your non-negotiables that keep you going?
One, I definitely have to say my children. I was hell bent on being the opposite of what my parents were. So whenever I see them helping people wanting to be helped, when they say, "Mommy, can I give some money to that, you know, homeless person over there?" Or they're bringing their friends home and saying, my mama can help you," or I'm taking in another young person. Whenever those things happen, then I see that the work that I do and the heart that I have and the values and the morals that I have are being they're being exhibited through them. And that makes me feel amazing, because that lets me know that I am doing a good job as a mother. And so that pushes me to keep, you know what I'm saying, to keep going and keep, even though my children are like 19, 18, 14, and 13, there are so many young people out here that are doing everything but, you know, building a life for themselves and being productive, you know. And so the fact that my children are mimicking those things make me happy. And also, I love when young people come to me later on and say, "Hey, Miss J, I got this job. I love my new career. I graduated. You know, your program really helped me." Or an adult comes to me or a family comes to me and says the same thing. Those are the things that keep me going. When business owners or my clients are excited, my business clients or the artists or the actors that I manage, and they get featured in a magazine, or get an interview somewhere, when they're excited, that brings me joy, because I'm actually a part of somebody's journey of them becoming who it is that they're created to be, and they are walking in their purpose and using their gifts and talents to do what it is that God has them to do. So those are the kind of things that bring me joy. Mm-hmm. So that's what pushes me.
Yeah. So it's those little things, getting that recognition for what you do goes a long way. And I think being that role model for young people, they emulate everything that we do. They're like little mirrors. So if we are setting a poor example, yes, they're going to see that as well. If they're seeing that positive example, they need that positivity in their life so that they can turn out to be the same kind of positive adult that you are.
Absolutely.
So great job on doing that. You mentioned a little bit ago about if you talk too much, you start getting tired. And prior to the aneurysm, you would go 48, 72 hours without sleep. Are you sleeping better now to take care of yourself?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. Yeah, I do not have a choice. When I started to feel pain in my head, so and just to be transparent, so when I left the hospital and all throughout rehab, I was on 12 different medications. Mm-hmm. Now I'm down to 6. 4 of them I take every day. Other 2 are as needed. When you have a ruptured aneurysm, I can't speak for those who just have an aneurysm, because I don't know what that's like. I mean, well, I know what it's like. I didn't know I had it, but yeah. But after you had the rupture and you had the brain surgery and everything, you have this pressure in your head. Sometimes you have a constant, almost like migraine type, and that affects, because you're in pain, that affects your blood pressure. Mm-hmm. And if my eyes are in pain or they're hurting, that affects your blood pressure. Mm-hmm. So sleeping, sometimes I have these spells where I could be just fine, and then in a snap I feel extremely lethargic, like I'm getting ready to pass out. Mm-hmm. And then I sleep for a while, and then I'll come to and I'm okay, and I don't know what that is at all. But they did let me know that sometimes that may happen. You may not feel that your body is tired, so it may hit you all at once. But resting is definitely a must. Yeah. For me. And sometimes now, even I still have to take a nap every day. Yeah. Even if it's just for an hour. It depends on what I'm doing, because our brains are so complex. Whenever mm-hmm. we're interacting, talking, things like this drain me a lot. Mm-hmm. So, if I'm on a call and we're just laughing or chatting it up, I don't really feel that until maybe later on. But if I'm in a deep conversation or where I'm doing a lot of critical thinking, or it's emotional, then yeah. But the rest is definitely a must for me. Yeah, my kids already know, hey, I'm about to lay down for a minute and take a nap, and don't come in here, don't knock on my door. They already know. So yes, I have to.
Mama needs her nap. Yes. Do you have like 1 or 2 tips that you would share with our listeners that may be in the same situation, or don't know that they're in the same situation, to kind of identify them or get them in the right way, things that they can do right now?
I would say, 1, if you have any of those symptoms, because I remember the doctors asking me, what symptoms did you have? Mm-hmm. And I think that was them, they were saying, because they were trying to understand, because everybody has different symptoms. Yeah. So my symptoms may have been different from somebody else's. So that's just them, I guess, trying to understand. Mm-hmm. When you go, though, to the doctor, have them do one with contrast, mm-hmm. a CAT scan with contrast, because I didn't realize until last year, when the doctor came in and told me, and had to keep me, that the very first scan they did, it would have been caught had they done the CAT scan with contrast, and they did not. And so ask for that test. But aside from that, mm-hmm. make sure that you are getting proper rest, mm-hmm. that you are taking time for self, mm-hmm. that you have a balanced diet, everybody thinks, well, you can't eat carbs, you can't eat salt. You can eat those things, but you have to eat them in moderation. Everything in moderation. Now, no, there are certain things I just can't eat, not even a lot of, So my moderation looks very different than other people. So you definitely want to watch what you eat. You want to watch how much you're doing, what you're doing, even with your interaction. When you're sitting at a laptop and you're working or you're writing or whatever the case may be, take some downtime. Don't do it for hours on end. Don't overwork or overexert, your thinking, your brain, and for those of us who are creatives or intellects, when you lay down and go to sleep, your brain is still going. You think about, what you got to do tomorrow. You think about, I can do this. I need that. Your brain needs time to wind down. And so watch something, funny or a movie. Do something to unwind. Something that does not include, don't even read a book. Some people do not read a book. And we take for granted that too. So I can't even sit and read a book without having to stop the first few pages because the words start to run together and my eyes start to hurt. Sure. So I have to read it in increments, or listen to it. So keep those things in mind. I would say that's the most important thing. Watch what you're doing, how long you're doing it. Take time for self. Do not overexert yourself. Do not overexert your brain.
Good words of
and
advice.
Listen to your body. Listen to your body. Do not keep going when it's saying stop.
That is so hard
Very
for
important.
people to do. So hard. So you are always up to something. Are you working on any projects or anything you want to share with our listeners?
So I just released the ebook called The Little Girl Nobody Fought For, Who Became the Woman Nobody Wanted. And it's about 17 pages, 16, 17 pages. It's really 19 altogether. You put the cover and all that kind of stuff, page. But for anybody that feels like they are like unwanted, unloved, who struggle with self-esteem, depression, all those things, it's a great quick read for them. It goes through someone's story and how they overcame that and what they look like now. So it's like a summary, a prelude to my autobiography. And there's a lesson. I'll say there's a few lessons, I'll say, throughout that ebook. And so it's available on Amazon, of course, in Kindle version. And you can also, you'll be able to get it through my website as well, I think at the end of this week. But so you can go on Amazon and it's under Jacques Merle. Well, you can type in Lady J too because it's on the book, but Jacques Merle. So The Little Girl Nobody Fought For, Who Became the Woman Nobody Wanted. And like I said, I'm getting ready to release a revamped version of my autobiography. The first version was a 3-part series, but I only did part 1 and part 2. So this part will include part 3 and they'll get everything in one dose. So, and I am actually getting ready to, we're getting ready for the re-up experience and the first annual national re-up experience where we recognize individuals and organizations and community leaders that are impacting those in the community through their service, through their content, and people who actually pour into people and helping them rejuvenate, and bounce back. So that's what that's all about. And so we have people coming from all over, people that were nominated from all over, people that are being honored from different states and things of that sort. So I'm excited about that. And that's happening March 17th to 18th here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Next year it'll be in Atlanta. And the following year it'll be in Chicago. So we have the first 3 years already laid out. We're what states are going to be in. So awesome. And 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 then we're getting ready to launch our television network under my multimedia company, E.G.O Entertainment Network. So that is our last and final division that we will be adding. So we're 6-division platform.
Very cool. You are still just as busy as ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and BounceBackology too. I forgot about that. So launching BounceBackology too. So that is the mentoring and life coaching program. I hate to call it a mentoring program because it's really more than that. But it was formerly the life support program, but the BounceBackologist was something that God placed in my spirit while I was in recovery and rehab, and being dubbed the Bounce Back Queen all these years. And so, along with that will be a apparel and shoe line. Everything is already ready to go. So people can wear their confidence, because we know when you look better, you feel better. And when you feel better, you can make better decisions and protect that brain. So you have a constant reminder that you are, you're awesome, that you can, you can do it, keep going, courageous, things of that sort. So I absolutely love everything that it stands for. And I'm excited about that too.
I'm excited for you. That does sound like a lot of really good stuff. So very cool. Very cool. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about any of these things you just talked about?
They can go to my website. I'm going to give you one place, because if I send you to all these different social media pages and websites, you're going to be confused. So if you go to ladyj.co, ladyj.co, you will there's a tab for every single thing. You can find all my brands there, all my media stuff. And when you click on a button, let's say if you want to find out more about E.G.O Entertainment Network, there's a button there to take you straight to that website, and you can connect with social media pages on there as well. So each site has the social media links, and everything about me that you want to know is on that site. If you want to connect with me, fill out the contact
form. Right there. So easy. I love that. One steady place. Very good. Awesome. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Lady J. It's been just amazing to hear your story today. I'm sure I could keep you much longer and ask you many more questions, but you need rest, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. Anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners before we wrap up today?
Well, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. I need to do more of these kind of talks. I've only done probably a couple when I'm talking about my condition. Yes. So thank you for that. And I would like to leave. I always leave with this, to remind people, after all of the hell you went through, the word through is an indication that you defeated the impossible too. New adversity will come, but overcoming it has already made you unstoppable. The favor over your life incomparable, which gives you the right to think and believe I'm possible.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Lady J.
You're welcome.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Brain Wellness, the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this with others to help me continue on with my mission to help people live healthier, happier lives. Go to www.brainwellnesssolutions.com to see what I'm up to and get links to all the social medias there. See you next time.